Magic and Mystery in Tibet by Alexandra David-Neel. The secret of psychic training, as Tibetans conceive it, consists in developing a power of concentration of mind, greatly surpassing even that of men who are by nature the most gifted in this respect. Mystic masters affirm that by the means of such concentration, waves of energy are produced, which can be used in different ways. The term wave is mine. I use it for clearness' sake, and also because, as the reader will see, Tibetan mystics really mean some currents or waves of force. However, they merely say shugs or tsal, T-S-A-L. That is to say, energy. That energy, they believe, is produced every time that a physical or mental action takes place. Action of the mind, of the speech, and of the body, according to the Buddhist classification. The production of psychic phenomena depends upon the strength of that energy and the direction in which it is pointed. Number 1, an object can be charged by these waves. It then becomes something resembling our electric accumulators and may give back, in one way or another, the energy stored in it. For instance, it will increase the vitality of one who touches it, infuse him with courage, etc. Practices grounded on this theory and aiming at beneficial results are current in Tibet. Numbers of lamas prepare pills, holy water, knotted scarves, charms printed on paper or cloth, which are supposed to impart strength and health, or to keep away accidents, evil spirits, robbers, bullets, and so on. The Lama must first purify himself by a proper diet, and then concentrate his thoughts on the object which he means to empower, in order to load it with the wholesome influences. Several weeks or months are sometimes deemed necessary for that preparation. However, when it is only a question of charmed scarves, these are often knotted and consecrated in a few minutes. Number 2, the energy which is communicated to an object pours into it a kind of life. That inanimate object becomes able to move and can perform certain actions at the command of its maker. The Nagspas, N-G-A-G-S-P-A-S, are said to resort to these practices to hurt or kill without arousing any suspicion that they are responsible for the causality. Here is an instance of the way in which the sorcerer proceeds. Taking with him the object which is to be animated, let's say a knife destined to kill someone, the Nagspa shuts himself in seclusion for a period that may last over several months. During that time he sits, concentrating his thoughts on the knife in front of him and endeavoring to transfer to the inanimated object his will to kill the particular individual whose death has been planned. Various rites are often performed in connection with the Nagspa's concentration of mind. These aim at adding to the energy which the latter is capable of generating and transfusing into the knife. Beings deemed more powerful than the sorcerer are either besought to cooperate willingly with him or coerced and compelled to let their energy flow into the weapon. These beings are often of a demonical kind, but in the case when the murder is deemed a righteous action, useful to the welfare of many, lofty benevolent entities may be called in as helpers. These are always respectfully implored, and no one attempts to coerce them. Some Nagspas think it useful to bring the weapon into touch with the man whom it is meant to kill, or with objects habitually used by him. Other adepts of the black arts scoff at such childish practice and declares that it discloses utter ignorance regarding the causes which may bring about the killing or hurting that is to appear accidental. When the sorcerer supposes that the knife is ready to perform its work, it is placed near the man who is to become its victim so that, almost always, he may be led to use it. Then, as soon as he seizes it, the knife moves, gives a sudden impulse to the hand which holds it, and the man against whom it has been prepared stabs himself. It is said that when once the weapon has been animated in that way, it becomes dangerous for the nagspa, who, if he lacks the knowledge and cleverness required to guard himself, may fall its victim. Autosuggestion is likely to result from the protracted meditation and the elaborate rites performed by the sorcerer while dwelling in seclusion, and it would not be surprising if some accident occurred to him. Nevertheless, apart from the stories of demons and spirits, there may be a phenomenon similar to that which is said to occur when the phantom created by the magician breaks away from its maker's control. Certain lamas and a few bonpos, B-O-N-P-O-S, have told me that it is a mistake to believe in such cases, as I have just mentioned, that the knife becomes animated and kills the man. It is the man, they said, who acts on autosuggestion as a result of the sorcerer's concentration of thought, though the nagspa only aims at animating the knife. The man against whom the rites are performed is closely associated in his mind with the idea of the weapon, and so as the man may be a fit receiver of the occult waves generated by the sorcerer, while the knife is not, he falls unconsciously under their influence. Then, when touching the prepared knife, the view and touch of the latter put into motion the suggestion existing unknown to him in the man's mind, and he stabs himself. Moreover, it is strongly believed that without any material object for transmission, proficient adepts of the secret lore can suggest, even from afar to men or other beings, the idea of killing themselves in one way or another. All agree in saying that any such attempt cannot be successful against an adept in psychic training, because such a one detects the waves of forces pointed at him and is able to discriminate their nature and thrust back those which he deems harmful. Number 3, without the help of any material object, the energy generated by the concentration of thoughts can be carried to more or less distant points. There, this energy may manifest itself in various manners. For instance, it can bring about psychic phenomena. It can penetrate the goal ascribed to it and thus transfer the power generated elsewhere. Mystic masters are said to use this process during the Angkur rites, A-N-G-K-U-R rites. Much could be said about these rites and the spirit which pervades them. The limited space allowed in an average size volume forbids an exhaustive account of all theories and practices of mystic Lamaism, and I have reluctantly had to omit, for the present, a number of interesting subjects. I shall confine myself to a few words. Lamaist Angkur, A-N-G-K-U-R, literally empowerment, is not an initiation, though, for lack of other words, I have sometimes used that term in the course of the present book. The various Angkors are not meant to reveal esoteric doctrines as initiations were among the Greeks and other peoples. They have a decidedly psychic character. The theory about them is that energy may be transmitted from the master or from some more occult store of forces to the disciple, who is able to tap the psychic waves in transmission. According to Lamaist mystics, during the performance of the Angkor rite, a force is placed within the disciple's reach. The seizing and assimilating of that force is left to his ability. In the course of talks I have had on this subject with mystic initiates, they have defined ankur as a special opportunity offered to a disciple of empowering himself. By the same method, mystic masters are said to be able to dispatch waves of energy which, in the case of need, cheer, refresh, invigorate physically and mentally their distant disciples. The process is not always meant to enrich the goal to which the waves are directed. On the contrary, sometimes when reaching the goal, these waves absorb a portion of its energy. Then, returning with that subtly stolen spoil, they pour it into the post from which they have been sent forth, in which they are reabsorbed. Some magicians, it is said, gain great strength or prolong their lives by incorporating this stolen energy. Tibetan mystics also affirm that adepts, while trained in concentration, are capable of visualizing the forms imagined by them and can thus create any kind of phantom: men, deities, animals, inanimate objects, landscapes, and so forth. The reader must recall what has been said on this subject in reference to the tulkus and the innumerable phantoms which, according to the Dalai Lama, a Changchub Sempa has the power to generate. And now there's a footnote here, and it says, in Sanskrit, a bodhisattva, a highly spiritually developed being nearing the perfection of a Buddha. These phantoms do not always appear as impalpable mirages. They are tangible and endowed with all the faculties and qualities naturally pertaining to the beings of things of which they have the appearance. For instance, a phantom horse trots and neighs. The phantom rider who rides it can get off his beast, speak with a traveler on the road, and behave in every way like a real person. A phantom house will shelter real travelers, and so on. Such happenings abound in Tibetan stories, and especially in the famous epic of King Gesar, Gesar, of Ling, Ling. The great hero multiplies himself. He produces phantom caravans with tents, hundreds of horses, lamas, merchants, servants, and each of them plays his part. In battles, he creates phantom armies which kill their enemies just as well as if they were authentic warriors. All this appears to belong to the realm of fairy tales, and one may wisely assume that 99 out of 100 of these stories are purely mythical. Yet, disconcerting incidents occur. Phenomena are witnessed, which it is impossible to deny. Explanations of them are found by the observer himself, if he refuses to accept those offered by Tibetans. But also, these Tibetan explanations, on account of their vaguely scientific form, attract the inquirer and become themselves a field of investigation. Western travelers who have approached the Tibetan border and formed a superficial idea of the common folk's superstitions will be most surprised to hear of the strangely rationalistic and skeptical opinion of prodigies which these apparently credulous simpletons harbor in the depths of their minds.